After years of love, loyalty, and sacrifice, Chidimma thought she had found her forever. But what do you do when forever turns out to be a lie? This next part of the story will leave you speechless. If you're just joining us, make sure you watch parts 1 to 3 so you don't miss a single twist. And tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Chidimma's hands trembled as she knocked on the gate of her father's compound in Aba. Her eyes were swollen, her voice hoarse, and her chest heavy with the pain she had never known before. The teddy bear she had taken from her daughter's room was still clutched to her chest, as if letting go of it meant losing everything. Her father, Pa Nadoisi, opened the gate himself. His weathered face lit up briefly, but the smile faded when he saw the state of his daughter. She was not the radiant young woman who had once left his house in love, in hope, and with joy. She was a broken shadow crumbling before his eyes. "Chidimma!" He rushed forward, holding her tightly. "What happened, my child?" The words wouldn't come, only sobs, guttural, raw, and loud. She collapsed into his arms and he carried her inside like she was a child again. He made her sit, brought water, called her mother, but no one could console her. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked with disbelief. "Daddy, he used me. He used my womb and threw me away. David is married. He was always married." Silence. Her father stood still for a moment, stunned. "What did you say?" She repeated it slowly, each word a stab in the chest. "He's married. His wife couldn't have children. I was just the vessel. He told me on a call with his real wife listening, 'Daddy, he took my children.'" Pa Nadoisi's hand trembled as he reached for his phone. "Give me his number. Daddy, give me the number, Chidimma." She did, and he called. When David picked up, his tone was casual, almost too calm. "Yes? This is Chidimma's father. Is it true what my daughter said?" There was a pause, then a cold chuckle. "It's true, sir. I'm sorry if she's hurting, but I've done what's best for my family. I've taken care of her. I gave her a house and 10 million. She can start again." "Start again?" Pa Nadoisi's voice shook with rage. "You stole her life. You made her a second wife without telling her. You used her womb like a surrogate, and now you discard her like she's nothing." David was silent. "I will never forgive you for what you've done," the old man said. "If you were standing before me, I would curse you with everything in me. May you know no peace." David hung up. Pa Nadoisi stared at the phone like it was poison. His hands trembled, not from age, but from helplessness. He turned to his daughter, who sat silently staring at the floor. "What kind of wickedness is this?" he muttered, pacing the room. "What kind of man treats a woman like this? Chidimma, you gave him children. You loved him." "I did," she whispered. "I gave him everything." Her mother entered the room, kneeling beside her. "My daughter, you will not die. God is still alive. Your story is not over." But the pain wasn't just in her heart. It was in her bones, in her memories, in the way the house now echoed with silence. For hours, her father said nothing. Then in the evening, he walked into the room again. "I don't have the money or power to fight him, but we will not let this end like this. You are not a toy. You are not disposable." Tears brimmed in his eyes as he continued. "I failed you. I should have seen the signs, but we all believed his lies. He dressed them well."
Chidimma looked up at him. "You didn't fail me, Daddy. I failed myself." "No, my child," he said, walking over and placing his hands on her shoulders. "You loved with a pure heart. That is never a failure." The night was long and full of silence, but in that silence, something began to shift. The tears had not stopped, but somewhere beneath them, the ashes of a woman's fire were beginning to stir again. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, warming the walls of her childhood room, but for Chidimma, there was no warmth, only an unbearable stillness that reminded her she was now alone. She sat by the window, watching the neighborhood children run past the gate with laughter in their voices. Her heart ached. Every giggle sounded like her daughter's. Every footstep reminded her of the son she'd barely held. Her hands gripped the arms of the chair, her body tense, her thoughts spiraling. David had taken them, her babies, her blood, and he hadn't even flinched. The photo album sat open on her lap. Their wedding photos, smiling faces, a white dress she once wore with pride, his hand resting on her belly when she was pregnant with Zara. Her eyes scanned every image, each one now tainted with betrayal. The man in those pictures had never truly existed. He was a mask, a carefully crafted lie. She slammed the album shut and held it to her chest. "How didn't I see it?" she whispered. The question hung in the air like smoke. Friends had started calling, some out of concern, others with veiled judgment wrapped in sympathy. "Hey, Chidimma, but didn't you ever suspect?" A man who's never around, asks questions?" Even her pastor's wife had said, "Next time, seek spiritual confirmation before you say I do." But no one knew what it was like to be inside her shoes, to believe every "I love you," every forehead kiss, every promise of forever. She had cooked his meals, washed his clothes, waited up late just to hear him say he was tired and needed rest. She had prayed for him, defended him, bore him children. And in the end, he handed her a house and 10 million naira like she was a well-paid employee whose contract had ended. "You were not a wife, Chidimma. You were an arrangement." The words haunted her, again and again, in her dreams, in the silence, in the mirror. She stared at herself now. Her face was thinner, her eyes tired, her soul aching. She hadn't eaten properly in days. Her mother tried to encourage her to eat, to sleep, but nothing could fill the void David had left. "Why me?" she asked the empty room. "What did I do wrong?" Then, somewhere in the depths of her soul, another voice responded, quiet, firm. "You didn't do anything wrong. He did." It was the first time she allowed herself to truly believe that. This wasn't her shame to carry. Still, healing felt impossible. She picked up her phone and scrolled through her old messages with David. There it was. "I love you forever." Another lie. She deleted the entire thread, blocked his number, deleted the pictures, but the memories remained. Chidimma remembered the day she told him she was pregnant. He had smiled, lifted her into his arms, spun her around in joy. Or so she had thought. Now she wondered, was that excitement real, or just the satisfaction of a plan falling into place? She pressed her face into her hands and wept. Her father entered quietly and stood at the door watching her. After a while he said, "Cry, my daughter, but do not drown in it. We have all been betrayed in life. The worst is when it comes from someone we trust the most." Chidimma lifted her eyes slowly. "I want to see my children," she said through clenched teeth. "Just once, I want to hold them." "We will find a way," he promised, though even he sounded unsure. She nodded, wiping her face. "I'm not ready yet, but soon I will be." That night, she lay on her bed staring at the ceiling. She could hear the sound of insects outside, the whirring of the ceiling fan, and her mother praying softly in the next room. Her mind whispered 1,000 questions. What if she had never met him? What if she had walked away earlier? What if she had fought harder? What if? What if? But there were no answers, only a decision to be made. She turned to her side and whispered, "You took everything, David, but I'm still here." And that was the beginning, not of forgetting, but of rising.
The sound of her heels echoed through the corridor as Chidimma walked slowly toward the full-length mirror in her room. It had been 2 weeks since the last call from David. 2 weeks of silence, of emptiness, of pretending to be strong in front of her parents while crumbling behind closed doors. But today felt different. She stood before the mirror now, wearing a simple navy blue dress. Her face was bare, her natural hair tied up in a bun. No earrings, no makeup, no pretense. Just a woman, wounded, yes, but no longer broken. She stared at herself, eyes locked. She didn't see a victim. She didn't see the abandoned wife or the used surrogate. She saw something rising inside her, a fire that had been buried under years of obedience and blind love. It flickered now, steady and fierce. It was time to decide. She walked to the corner of the room where a manila envelope sat on the table. Inside were the documents David's lawyer had sent. The $10 million compensation, the house papers, a letter of full legal separation, and a note scribbled in David's own handwriting. "You deserve better than this. I'm sorry, but this is the only way. Don't come after the kids. It's for the best." Chidimma's fingers trembled as she read it again. Don't come after the kids? She wanted to scream. Did he think she would just fold and vanish? That she would take his blood money and forget she was a mother? That she would smile, say thank you, and fade into the background while he played happy family with the real wife? She sat down and opened her laptop. She began to type. Emails to lawyers, messages to mothers groups, online legal support communities. She knew it wouldn't be easy. Custody laws were complicated. David had more power, more money, and probably more lies prepared. But she has something else, truth, and now a hunger for justice. Still, the other decision loomed, public exposure. She could tell the world. She could go to the press, upload her story online, shame him, ruin his perfect image, drag his secrets into the daylight where they belonged. She knew things about him, contracts, shady deals, receipts she'd kept without knowing they'd matter one day. But would that help her children or hurt them? Would they thank her one day or resent her forever? Her phone rang. It was Titi, her close friend and bridesmaid from the wedding. They hadn't spoken in weeks. "Chidi," Titi's voice came gently. "I heard everything. I'm so sorry." Chidimma swallowed. "You knew he was married, Titi?" There was a pause. "No, I swear. I only found out a few days ago. My cousin works in a firm where his first wife came for a consultation. She didn't even know about you either." "So we were both sidewise," Chidimma said bitterly. "Do you want to expose him?" Titi asked. "I want to breathe again," Chidimma replied, "whatever that means." Titi sighed. "Then fight for your children. Don't let him erase you. And don't let bitterness decide for you. Let wisdom lead." After the call, Chidimma took a deep breath and stepped outside. Her father was in the compound watering the plants.
"I'm thinking of going to court," she said. He looked up at her. "Then we will stand with you." "I don't want the money," she added. "I don't want the house. I want my children to know I didn't walk away without trying." Her father nodded. That night, she returned to her room, closed the curtains, and lit a single candle by her bedside. She knelt beside it, not to pray for David's return, but to pray for strength to never be that woman again. She stood up and faced the mirror once more. This time, she whispered, "You thought you destroyed me, but you just gave birth to someone new." The screen fades to black. Her silhouette remains in the mirror, taller, bolder, wiser. And somewhere beyond the silence, a storm begins to rise.